watching Thrifty Kaniffy. Hello everyone and welcome to Thrifty Kaniffy. Well, today we're going to be looking at an electrician's knife. This is from Ward's, and this was sent to me by Tom over at Knife Delights. This is sort of a surprise gift. I had no idea he was sending it, and just sent a message to say, hey, there's something coming your way. And this showed up in the mail, so shout out to Tom over at Knife Delights. Make sure you go check him out. He loves traditional knives, big buck knife lover. But he likes the, anything traditional. He might find an antique shop in some of these older knives. And this is a great example. Just a really cool wooden-handled electrician's knife from Ward's. These were made, I want to say, between 1935, 1959. This is probably on the newer side of that date range, I would think, and probably made by Utica. Some of these Ward's knives were made by Winchester, but I believe this to be one by Utica. And it's just your typical electrician's knife where you've got the spear point blade and the screwdriver blade with the liner lock on it. Now there's some things about the knife that are going to need some attention, and I'll kind of point those out. I'm not going to show every detail about how I clean the knife up, but this will be a cleanup video. I just don't know that I'm going to be showing every step of the way how I go from point A to point B. But I do want to show you what it looked like before and kind of show you the things that I intend to address. So you've got this nice big chunk of wood kind of hollowed out right here. Not sure exactly how that might have occurred. And then a little chunk missing here on the corner. I'm going to just try to smooth that out with some sandpaper. You can see that the clevis here has got some patina on it. I'm not particularly worried about the value of the knife. I don't think it's anything that's particularly valuable or anything, especially in this condition. So I'm probably going to take it further than I might something of value. So keep that in mind. This is not something that I would necessarily recommend for a knife of value, but with this particular project, I can kind of just, clean it up as much as I really feel like I want to. But we're going to smooth this area out here. We're going to get these pins polished up. I'm going to actually clean up the wood. I'm going to try out some alcohol in the wood because I want as little water to be on the surface of the wood as possible, and the alcohol will evaporate quickly. I'm going to clean up this bolster to pretty much make it mirror finish on both sides. You can see that there's quite a bit of rust there, surface rust, patina, whatever you'd like to call it. And then on this side, the handle looks much better. It won't be nearly as much sanding or anything required on this side of the knife. And depending on what the knife looks like after my small amount of sanding that I'm going to provide it, I may end up putting some kind of a stain or something on there. But if it doesn't lose its color, I'll just leave it as it is. But I do intend to kind of take some of the minor nicks and scratches out of the wood by giving a little bit of a sand. Again, probably going to make that bolster nice and mirrored. And you can see the rust inside the cavity of the pivot. It's pretty bad. You got the tops of the tangs there filled with crud and rust. And I'm going to try to polish all that out, make it nice and shiny so that the action of the blades can be as good as possible. You can see that there's quite a bit of pitting. Well, I wouldn't say so much pitting, but there's patina on the blade. It's been sharpened, but you can see it's kind of chipped. So we're going to try to freshen up the edge on that, maybe reprofile it, make it a usable knife with a nice, clean, sharp edge on it. Right now, this is pretty dull. I don't even see that that's going to cut paper at this point. There's a good look at the tang beforehand. Just says Ward's, and then below it, made in USA. See if we can get that in a position where you can see it. Now you can see the surface rust here at the base of that blade as well. So, yeah, there's quite a bit in the channel. They're going to try to remove, so that'll get some attention. One other thing is that you can see how the liner, it's bent more than it should be here at the end. Here in the last quarter inch or so, it's kind of bent. So I'm going to try to straighten that out so that it actually interacts with the tang in the middle of the blade, because if you attempt to close the screwdriver blade, you can actually force the tang to the opposite side. So that's not really working as intended, because, you know, the liner lock is supposed to protect you from the blade closing down. Also, the sharpness of the screwdriver blade is not ideal. I mean, you've got supposed to be an area from here to here that's sharp, and it's not really all that sharp. You've got some surface rust here at the top of this bevel here, because it bevels down to the blade. Now there's some print, and it's difficult to read, but it says push to the left to release the lock or something to that effect. And I don't want to remove that lettering. It's tough to see, but if you hold it at just the correct angle, you can read it. I don't know that that's showing up on camera, but there is an angle in which you can read that. So I'm going to definitely try to protect that and just basically do nothing to that side of the knife or the blade edge, and just get the top edge here where there's crud inside the nickel or the nail nick, and up here at the top, and then on this side you can see there's quite a bit of surface rust up there and along the edge here. So that all get cleaned up, and you know, the wood will try to be smoothed out, and if I have to provide a little bit of stain or some sort of finish on it, I will. And then I'm going to get the spring pretty much mirror finished. Well, mirror finish might be an exaggeration, but certainly cleaner than you see it here. The brass liners, both top and bottom, I'm going to shine those up, polish that up. So it ought to look much improved. And, you know, if there's anything specific that I feel like I should discuss in the after part of the video, I will, like in terms of what special things I had to do to get it to where it is. One thing you will notice is it's very stiff on the close. You're not getting any snap. It's very mushy on the close. You can just kind of goes there, and then just kind of mushy there. So all of that pivot area is going to necessarily be cleaned up. Now it locks up, both blades lock up pretty good on the open, but again, that channel is just a mess, and that's all going to have to be cleaned out. But I'm not going to be using any kind of ultrasonic cleaner because I don't want to do anything to the wood, so that will be avoided. So most of what I do for cleaning will have to be, you know, something that's done by hand, and kind of have to take care in how I approach the interior cleanup without getting it too wet with any particular cleaner, lubricant, or anything like that. But anyway, so I'll come back and I'll kind of just show how I approached each of the areas I just mentioned, and see what kind of improvements we've made. This is just more or less to kind of give you an idea of what the knife looked like before I ever put a hand on it. And you can see it's got a lot of work to go on it to get it, you know, cleaned up, but we'll do that. All right, I'll cut now, and then we'll come back and I'll start explaining what it is that I did. All right, so I'm back. It's probably about 24 hours later. Didn't clean the whole time, obviously, but probably took me a good 2 hours to do all of what I did. And you can see with the mess that it made, I used the Q-tips to clean out the channel of the knife, and let's take a look at that first. Most of that ended up being relatively easy to clean. It was primarily just kind of sludge down in there. You can see it's nice and clean down the channel now. It was just sludge, you know, it was like dirt and grime, but it was loose, and it wasn't really rusted on the top parts of the springs there. I did have rust on the blades, and I think we can go back and compare the blades. If we look at them, there was quite a bit more patina on here, and I've got this polished up and shined. The primary rust spot on the blade was actually the screwdriver blade, and I got most of that removed. It was up here. You can see where it's still got some staining there, some pitting, but most of that was removed. Now I will say I was trying to keep the lettering on the bottom where it says push to the left to release or whatever, something like that. Most of that still got removed, even though I didn't really make any attempt to clean this bottom bevel of the knife. So it's very difficult. There's a little bit left there, you can see, but down here at the base, towards the tang side, it's almost all gone. So even just trying to wipe the stuff off that I was using to clean the top part removed, some of the lettering. So it's really difficult to try to keep that on there. So you almost just have to leave the blade alone if you have any attempt to keeping the lettering. But there is a little bit here at the edge, you can just still see it. It says push to or something, to push to the left or whatever. I think I can still read that part. But again, the nail nick got cleaned out. The spine there looks pretty good. Pretty happy with it. I mean, still got some signs of patina, but it's much more polished and cleaned up. You got the liner, the brass all in there, cleaned up, shined up. I took some 2500 grit paper to this area here and kind of smoothed it out so that it wouldn't splinter, catch on anything. So that's quite improved there. I took some alcohol swabs, that's actually these right here, and cleaned the handle, and they look much more brown now. They were grimy and almost black with grime. So the handles look, more like wood now. They're wooden brown. You can see the other side as well. Cleaned up pretty nice. Polished the pivots up with just some hand polishing there. Used the buffing wheel on the bolsters, and those really made a big improvement on those quite a bit. And there's still a little bit of pitting there. I wanted to kind of leave that pretty consistent on both sides, the pitting on that. And it's a near mirror finish. I wouldn't say it's mirror finish, but it's close. And you got a lot of snap in the blades now. You can see that one closes quite a bit easier. Not as mushy as it was. Locks up. I fixed the liner lock so that it locks in the correct position. It's pretty much centered in the blade there. And you can't close it now. It's not going too far to the left where you can close it on the opposite side of it. So that worked out well. It was just bent too far to the right, and then I had to straighten it some so it'd be in the center of the blade. So that worked out really well, and you can see that got polished up really well. And there's good snap on the blade. Opens well, locks up really nice. So I'm pretty happy with that. The clevis got cleaned. It was pretty dingy. Had some pretty bad patina on it. And now it's nice and polished. Didn't go overboard with it. I didn't want it to be like mirror finish, but it's clean now, and it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. And it's still nice and firm on there. There's a good look at that other rivet that got the pin that got polished. So there's a look at the springs, and they're really gleaming, and the brass liners are all well polished all the way to the front. So that's all clean. There's the back, all polished up. So still just some signs of some use there, a little rough on the liners and spots, and you've got some little cavities there from pitting, but overall looks a lot better, a lot cleaner. And I also sharpened up the main blade. You can see I polished it up and put a nice little mirror edge on it. There we go. You can see it there. And this side as well. So now it's pretty sharp. Let's get a piece of paper to kind of give you an idea. Now before, you'll remember it had some little nicks in the blade, and I got all those out. 20-degree edge on it with the Work Sharp Precision Elite. And now she cuts really nice. Nice and smooth. And very buttery smooth blade edge on that. So pretty happy with that. And the nail, or the kick, or the action on it, the action on the open and close, much improved on that main blade, probably even more so than the screwdriver blade. Locks up really well, and got great action on the close as well. Nice snap to it. So I'm really happy with it overall. Just a really great gift from Tom. Again, this is awards, you know, made from mid-30s to mid-50s probably, somewhere in that 20-year range. And the OEM was probably Utica out of New York. So pretty nice little wooden handled electrician's knife. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. And yeah, now you can use it as a user. Got a nice sharp blade on it. So thank you, Tom. Really enjoyed the project. As you can see, I put a lot of work into it. Sandpaper, alcohol, some little popsicle stick for scrubbing out the channels. But all in all, turned out pretty nice. And probably took me, again, about 2 hours to get it all cleaned up. So, not too bad. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Be made aware of videos when they drop. And we'll see you next time. Take care.